Marcus Walkom is a solicitor at Media Arts Lawyers. We interviewed Marcus to find out more about how copyright actually works and obtain some free legal advice for all you emerging artists.
So, Marcus, probably a good place to start would maybe just be a little bit about what you do sort of in your day-to-day kind of job as working at Media Arts Lawyers.
Yeah, well, I'm obviously a lawyer, but work in the media entertainment sphere, so we represent media entertainment clients, primarily in the music world. So day-to-day it'll generally involve, whatever happens in relation to our clients, but the primary work we kind of do is contractual based, so contractual negotiation, and it's all based around, obviously, IP and the protection of rights and the exploitation of those rights for our clients. We do obviously have, and I think this is where your sort of questions are going, is we do have sometimes issues where our clients, it's infringement issues, so that's looking at more from a purely copyright point of view generally, or trademarks, so an IP-based point of view as well. But the majority of the stuff day-to-day is kind of just the contractual negotiations and all the arranging deals for our clients and sorting deals and doing obviously the paperwork associated with that, drafting either agreements ourselves or marking up and negotiating agreements.
Yeah, cool. So how long have you been working?
Media Arts have been
at Media Arts
since May 2012.
Okay, cool.
And prior to that I was in London working there for a law firm called Sound Advice, but that was only for about a year. And prior to that I was just working in litigation. So it took me about 6 years to get into the sort of music side of things, which I'd always wanted to do. It's just very difficult, particularly in Australia, so it took me going to London to actually get into that world, basically. So, there's a lot of time harassing people and interning and
yeah.
banging on doors trying to get a job. So that's one of the ways to kind of have to do to get into this industry, really.
Awesome. So you mentioned before that kind of you have the occasional copyright issue.
Yes.
So maybe what's an example of that you've experienced at work?
Well, I mean, there's not so many where it's involving sort of blatant rip-offs of songs, which I think is what a lot of people think does happen. That's not as common, really, that we deal with that. More often we'll deal with things where, trademark infringements we often deal with a lot, where people are kind of using a word or a logo or something like that that's protected by one of our clients and they're using it without authority. So that's obviously infringement in that regard. Use of copyright material. Sometimes if someone incorporates, say, someone's song onto a compilation CD or something like that without obtaining authority to do so and paying adequate compensation. Those sort of things do pop up here and there.
Okay, cool. So I had a question actually. It wasn't one that I wrote on the email to you, but
Yeah, sure.
we were wondering, is it possible for both the original content creator and the producer who say remixes a song to both earn revenue from the new product? How does that work? So if Lana Del Rey sings a song, Cedric Gervais remixes it, it's a new product. Do they?
It's a new master. Well, it'll be a remix of the master.
Yeah.
There'll be an agreement between them as to how the income distribution is going to be for the exploitation of that remix.
Yeah, and they can both earn revenue.
Sorry.
They can both earn money from the remix.
If that's agreed, some people might have a remix deal where the original artist obtains full control and they just pay the remixer a fee.
Yeah.
They want them to remix, they'll pay them $500, $1,000, $3,000, $5,000, whatever. Other times it might be that they have to get a fee and sort of some royalties associated with it. But obviously the original song's given to remix, the original song and the original owner of that master, which may, in most instances, be a record label rather than the artist, but it could be the artist if they own and control their own masters. Generally, the label would, when they are sourcing remixes, they'll just generally do a flat fee buyout, so they'll pay the remixer a set fee, and then they'll own and control the new remix, and then are able to exploit that the way they want. And obviously, then that flows back to the artist as well, depending on the deal with the artist that the record label has.
Okay, so it's kind of case by case sort of thing.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
More so remixes are generally paid a flat fee.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So in terms of like, I'll just go maybe through some of the questions that I sent
sure.
you. So one of the things that we want to know is in copyright legislation, there's this idea that in order for something to be considered your own intellectual copyright, it needs to be to substantially change the meaning, origin, or purpose of the original work. So I guess that's
why it's a derivative of an original and a work already existence. If there's a new work, like if you write a brand new song to that, there's no need for it to be change any meaning, origin, or purpose of any original work. Yours is purely an original work.
okay. Okay, awesome. So that's
what you're landing there is where if there's an issue between whether two, let's just use an example of songs, whether two songs are very similar, then that would be a question that will need to be answered. Whether the new work actually substantially changes the, as you say there, the meaning, origin, or purpose of the original work, so that it therefore in itself creates an entirely new work.
How's that decided? Is that like, is purpose like if it's for a new market? So say for example, I think that that's movie Frozen.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. Okay. There's this song that everyone's gone like nuts for called Let It Go.
Let It Go.
I think oh my gosh, who remixed this? Like Armin van Buuren or someone. I may have like got that wrong, but remixed it, and it's for like a completely different market. Obviously, it sounds completely different. What would that be? Substantially changing the original work, or is that still an issue?
No, that'd be a remix of the original one. So a remix is not in itself, creates a new work, a new master effectively, but that's going to be, that would have been commissioned, I'd say, by or approached by Armin van Buuren, but they would have. You need to be able to remix something. You obviously need the original master.
Yeah.
So you need authority from the owner and controller of the master to be able to use that master and remix it.
Okay, cool. So that wouldn't be kind of like sufficient.
Sorry.
That's not considered substantially changing the meaning. That's just a remix kind of thing.
It's just a remix, yeah.
Cool. So yeah, like in the realm of online copyright, what do you think the effect of tighter online copyright laws is on the production of creative content, especially if you keep in mind like the electronic dance music scene or even just like remixes generally, and like hip hop? Like how does tighter copyright hinder those kind of genres?
Well, it affects those genres because they're clearly trying to borrow from people's already original work. So I think the copyright laws are in place to protect original creators of works. And then I don't think if you're suggesting that, there's a lot in that world. If you're going to use someone else's work, you need A, authority for it, B, paid to use it effectively or provide some sort of compensation. So, I mean, a lot of people do remixes and no one kicks up a fuss because it can in itself provide some additional promotion for a track. But generally, if you are to do a remix, you'd seek authority and approval from the original owner of the master before you actually do that. It's not to say people don't do that, but I think the laws are in place, obviously, to prevent people. There's a certain bundle of rights, obviously. I think, would you sort of learn about that, the rights that are attached to a copyright owner for a particular work?
Yeah, well, like that's sort of what we're learning about at the moment.
Yeah, so obviously those bundle rights are exclusive to the owner of the work, so they have the right to do that, and anyone else who uses those works without the authority of the original copyright owner is obviously infringing the rights of the original copyright owner. So, in essence, incorporating a sample, for instance, without authority, that's a clear infringement of the original owner's copyright, given that they own, there's obviously a rights holder who owns the master, and there's a rights holder who owns and controls the composition, so there's two different rights there. But I think the laws are in place, and they're obviously going to affect the hip-hop world. There's a lot more borrowing, I would say, from original used, rather than in sort of a singer-songwriter world where someone's sitting down with a guitar. And they might borrow, in many respects, chord progressions, perhaps, but it's difficult to argue that would be, a flagrant infringement, because everyone kind of... There's a fine line between protecting, obviously, the original copyright owner's works and obviously encouraging new creators of works to obviously borrow from and be influenced by prior work.
Yeah, definitely.
So you can't, say going from a G to a D to a C.
Yeah.
Chord progression, you can't. That's not protected. It's obviously there's only a limited number of notes and what have you in the music world that there's certain elements that can't obviously be protected too much. But there's that ongoing balance that they're trying to strike between the two.
What's the craziest thing you've heard someone try to copyright in the music world, or allege that was theirs?
I don't know. When you say try to copyright, you don't actually need to copyright something per se. It automatically
happens.
Yep. So as you probably studied, if it's embodied in a material form and it's an original work, then that copyright in that work exists automatically.
Yep.
So
is that in every jurisdiction?
Per se.
Is that in every jurisdiction, or
every jurisdiction has part of the Berne Convention? Yes. There's some territories where you can send things to a copyright body or what have you that formally, in effect, ratifies, I think, that copyright exists in that work, but you don't need to here.
Yeah.
And likewise, you don't need a copyright symbol on it. It's obviously can be. A lot of people use it thinking you have to, but you don't actually have to. Copyright will still exist in the work, but it's just some people you put it on obviously to inform others that is an original work protected.
It's like a symbol. It doesn't actually change the legal effect, kind of thing.
No, exactly.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
But okay, here's a question for you. So I swear, this. Maybe I'll give you an example. So, do you know Aphex Twin?
Aphex Twin, yep.
And then Kanye West used a sample, or it's not sure if it was a sample, if he went and did it kind of himself in this track called The Blame Game. I think it came out in 2010, I'm going to say, 2011. Yep. And Aphex Twin was like, you have used my song, April 14th, blatantly. And if you listen to it, it's not really in question. But he approached Kanye West, and Kanye West basically told him to F off. What that stuff seems to happen all the time. Why?
Well, people obviously people sample it. We rep Hilltop Hoods, obviously all of their stuff. There's been some significant samples used. Look at the Avalanche's record. That took ages to clear. Samples, any Fat Boy Slim record, all the same. There's kind of been, and that's if you're borrowing using other people's copyright works, you need authority to do that. And the original copyright owner, in this instance, Aphex Twin, would have every right to issue proceedings against Kanye seeking the damages associated with the infringement. But generally what would happen is you'd get a sample clearance. And we always would suggest to our clients, if you are sampling, try and get it as early as possible, because it's a lot harder to clear a sample and costs you a lot more if the song does well. And then you're trying to clear it after the fact than if you clear it initially.
That is very good advice.
There's a lot of people who get caught with that. Because if you got to, they want to hear how the sample's embodied and incorporated into the new work, the original owners, and if they're happy with it, they might go, give me $500, but then it might go and be a smash #1 hit, and then they've obviously cleared the use of the sample, but they've done it for a low fee thinking it may not do much. But then if you try and get it after the fact and it's been a smash, they'll go, well, it's been a big hit and my song's been a part of that, so I want some money for it.
You mentioned that Media Arts represents Hilltop Hoods. That song, I know this is so long. I was very young when this came out, but it's a great track, still is. You know that song, the Nosebleed section? I think it was their first hit. Did they come into any legal controversy for that? Because I think it's Money Becomes King is the song that was sampled.
I'm not sure. That was before my time here with the
it would be.
I know it dragged on for a while and it was quite an involved process. But they've cleared all the samples in relation to that. So whatever it cost them at a certain, would have cost them to do that, and they would have come to various different agreements in relation to the original copyright owners, how they would have paid them, whether it would have been fees and royalties or just royalties or however they would have determined it.
Out of court? out of court or in court? Or
They're just agreements. Those things, if you're going to use an incorporator sample, you just approach the owner of the original work and say, look, I'm wanting to incorporate this sample into my new track. Most people generally don't care.
Yeah.
Some people are staunchly against it, don't want anyone to touch their works. But a lot of people will allow it.
Yeah.
And are happy for it to be done, but they obviously want to hear it and how it's embodied in. Like, they don't want it in a, some people might not want to be associated with various artists, for instance, or they might want it, the context that it's used within the new work, they may not be happy with it. So, but it's a matter of if you're wanting to use it, you approach, in an ideal world, you approach all the original rights holders of the works prior to releasing them, and you'd go to them and say, look, I'm going to incorporate this sample, this is how it sounds, here's a demo of the track, I've done it. You have for me to incorporate this in, and then you go, yeah, and they go, yeah, okay, all right, we'll sort out payment arrangement for the use of it. And then there's obviously no court issue because you're seeking
permission. Yeah.
Permission to do so. But if you don't get permission, that's when you can run into hurdles. Generally, though, the majority of matters are settled prior to actually any proceedings being issued, because it's just going to be a costly process for both parties if that's the case.
So
if there's clearly been a sample incorporated into a song, and the person who's done it into the new work doesn't really have much argument, so they're going to want to try and settle it without going to too much expensive, prolonged legal proceedings.
100%. Okay, so let's talk about content identification systems.
Yep.
Basically, they seem to give YouTube the final say on copyright judgments. Do you know kind of how these work?
Not really. Like YouTube, what YouTube does with
yeah.
the copyright AD thing is, if they detect that, for instance, I upload a song of me singing, I don't know, YMCA by the Village People, for instance, just as an example, they'll obviously contact the rights holder and say, this has been embodied on if it's me playing, filming into a camera, playing a guitar.
Yeah.
They'll contact the rights holder and say, give them the option of either having that video removed or monetising it. So any hits that come through that for my Facebook page for that video, and any ad revenue generated from that will go to the original rights holders of the Village People song.
All of it?
As far as I'm aware, yeah.
Right. So
YouTube's not generally a revenue generating. Well, it is now. There's ads involved on it, but it was meant to be a free, free use space where people would upload their own music and share videos without having to pay for them, which is still the case, although that's changing soon because there is soon to be a streaming payment style service coming around. But
oh, really?
Yeah.
On YouTube?
Yeah, apparently.
Oh.
Yeah, been quite a bit of news about that of late, given the YouTube's reached agreements with all the majors, but they refused to negotiate with the indies initially. And there was a bit of a kick-up about that a couple of months ago.
YouTube refused to negotiate with the indie labels?
They set out a pro forma deal for the indies for the use of their music on their new streaming service, but the indies weren't very happy because they didn't allow them room to negotiate with YouTube.
Oh, okay, interesting. So, that's still in the pipeline kind of thing?
Well, there's still negotiations. Yeah, it's gonna. I'm not sure when it's going to be launched.
Interesting.
Been a long time coming.
Yeah, definitely. So, couple more questions.
So yeah, the ID. Sorry to go. I jumped around a little bit, but the copyright ID system is done to protect the original rights holders. So, like with SoundCloud, if you can obviously, if you upload a work that's not your own, then the original rights holder has every right to have that removed on the basis that you have no authority to do so.
What if it's just on, say you have a SoundCloud channel, what's the deal if you just, say you uploaded, the latest London Grammar song, it's not for you to make money, you're not a producer, it's just so other people can, listen to your playlist. What's the issues there?
Oftentimes, if there's no commercial gain, then the rights holders won't take issue.
Yeah.
But technically, they're allowed to request that you take that down because you don't have the authority to upload that to SoundCloud because you're not the owner or controller of that work.
Okay, interesting.
But oftentimes the rights holders won't take much action given there's no commercial gain from it. If you're making money out of it, they immediately ask that you rip it down and also ask that you account to them for all profits that you made from any exploitation of that.
What's the deal with YouTube channels? They're sort of like music channels, like, I don't know, like The Sound You Need or Majestic Casual. Do you know what I mean? Like they sort of are like.
I don't know those ones.
It's kind of like you'd know the concept. It's like a music channel, and they'll play like a specific genre. So it might be almost like a radio station. Does that make sense? And they upload other people's songs, often remixes, and they
Are they uploading from
their
original pages?
They upload from like their channel, and these channels can have like millions of subscribers. So,
well, any rights holders who are included on that would have the right to either ask that they remove their work from there, or they just YouTube would give them the option to monetize that page as well, and they'd obviously get a flow through of that from that because their work's featured on there.
Okay, cool.
Would be my understanding of that.
Yeah.
I don't know any more about that, but.
So I guess what would be some advice that you would give to emerging artists from a legal perspective, particularly?
Get everything checked and get everything in writing.
In writing?
Yeah.
So would an email be sufficient?
It can be, but I would suggest that you get something more formal that's signed. Depends what you're doing.
Yep.
Obviously, we come into place and we can draft agreements that can be super simple and they can be super complicated and super drawn out, but it all depends on what you need. But don't assume that you can use something without contacting the original owner first as well. If you're looking to sample or remix, for instance.
What if what if the person isn't alive anymore?
Well, it depends. It'd still be generally the master, so the recording might be owned by a label.
Yep.
Something like that. And obviously with the copyright, with the musical work, the copyright in that exists 10 years after the author's death.
Okay.
So it'd still be protected. There's obviously some public domain works, and that's when they've fallen out of copyright, and then anyone can use them in any manner they want.
And what happens if you register your song, or I don't know how, or you obtain like a Creative Commons license? What's that? Does that come into play with music much, or is that mostly other things?
I don't really know in relation to that because I've not actually dealt with that, to be honest. It's more of the idea of Creative Commons is to provide provide licenses to facilitate open sharing, but it's not actually at this stage. It's an idea that's been developed by Creative Commons Australia, I think, and it's not actually. If people submit their work to the Creative Commons site, they're obviously submitting it to be enabled for other people to then use and obtain a license.
Gotcha. Awesome.
Generally, obviously for the free. So it's people who are happy to share their images, share their works, whatever.
Gotcha, yeah. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything you'd kind of like to add or think I've maybe missed?
No, not really. What's the focus of your feature?
So it's like investigating online copyright, basically. And just what the status quo is with the law, what the situation is, what you have to do to obtain permission, and it's just going to all be presented in a website essentially.
Cool.
I can link.
Well, send me.
Yeah, I'll link it to you when it's all up. But yeah, thank you so much for your time. We definitely really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll send you a link with the email when it's up, and yeah, then you'll.
Yeah, drop me a line if you need a hand with clarification on anything as well.
Beautiful, thank you. Yeah, I'll definitely, if I need any answer kind of clarified, I might just shoot you a little email just to make sure I've got my facts right. But other than that,
cool.
You've been extremely helpful.
And I may have been confused about certain parts.
Yeah, 100%. Awesome. Thank you so much, Marcus.
No worries, Tessa.
All right. Bye.
See you later.